Many of the refinery decks of Stanton are located at Lagrange Point Nebula, surrounded by asteroids, which naturally gets the aspiring miner thinking, why not simply harvest those rocks nearby rather than trekking across the system? I'm Forrester, and this gameplay video covers exactly that, taking out the prospect to the refinery deck and harvesting the glorious bounty that exists right outside. To keep the overall length of the video down, some of the footage, such as quantum hops, has been sped up, and those parts are clearly marked as such, but otherwise, this video is a full session end to end. And this is intended to be a gameplay video rather than a guide, although there is a full mining tutorial available on the channel if that's what you were hoping for. So, without further ado, let's get started. And here we go, jumping on board the MISC Prospector from the hangar deck. As you can see, I've got my favourite livery on the Prospector just as I equip on the Vulture. We'll hop forward into the pilot seat and get airborne. I've chosen not to speed this one up. I think some of the comments I've had in previous videos are actually you don't need to speed up quite so much, so I'm trying to be a bit more measured, and I'll include some more of the things like taking off and landing, and I'll just speed up the things like the quantum hops. So engines on, climbing up to the ceiling, just waiting for that door to open. Because I'm on Microtech, they insist on giving me the extra large hangar, which can sometimes make it feel a long time for the doors to open. But then you get out and you're greeted with those snowy trees and misty wispy clouds, and actually it's quite obvious why Microtech is an excellent choice of home. So now just ascending through the clouds at Microtech before we make our jump. Now, one of the things that I have done is I have included some timestamps in the video description, so if you are looking to get straight to the mining, you can just click through on the timestamps. So I'm making this travel in SCM speed. Sometimes if you've got a faster ship it can be worth switching to nav mode, but I was in a very leisurely mood when I recorded this one, as you can see from just taking some slow panning shots of the Prospector. I do like that livery. So at this point I am going to hop into nav mode for the quantum nav mode. Quick hop up to Tressler, and then we'll go to times 12 speed to make the hop to Mike L1. Much faster in times 12. A shame about the annoying exit right button that insists on hopping up. So then, once in and around Mike L1, which is our destination of the day, just a case of scanning around for some rocks to find. I'm not being picky here. I think I've said this in other mining videos, but my preferred style is just to spend more time doing actual mining rather than getting excessively choosy about what I choose to break up. Especially in a situation like this where I am right by the refinery, I don't really lose much travel time. So I do have this annoying bug where everything shows up as inert even though it's not inert, so you have to rescan them all. But Terranite, we definitely like Terranite. Oh, got a bit too excitable there about the first rock, and this is just a small rock. So it's gone into that overcharge, so we're just gonna step back a little and let it do its thing. And then have a long wait for it to actually do its thing and explode. Come on. and it's not happening. So I'm going to gingerly head a little bit closer to this other rock, mindful that that first rock might explode at any given moment. Now this rock might be too big. Got a massive 19,000, which I think for my loadout is probably pushing it, but we'll try. I always prefer to draw my own conclusions, but no, it does seem too big. Right, what's happening with this rock now? Oh, it has broken up. So let's see what we have. A little bit of Terranite and some inert materials. Well, I think given that it was 85% inert, I might scan this one and see if this one's worth grabbing first. There's some beryllium in there, which I think we'll grab. So not particularly successful for that first rock, but that's down to me and my own ineptitude at mining there. So I have to be responsible for that one. Like a wrecked ship there. We will not be mining that, but if I was out in my Vulture it might have been more tempting. Incidentally, this gameplay session is recorded in one of the final days of patch 3.24.1, right before CitizenCon. So at this point, patch is imminent, which will impact my choice of which mining method I'm going to use, which refining method, but it means that all the heads-up display, etc. that you're seeing are from 3.24.1 before the rework hits. So if you're thinking, oh, that looks a bit different to my heads-up display, that will be why. So this rock has got some nice things in it. We've got 24% gold and 36% fastenite of a 17 SCU rock. So this is definitely worth breaking in my book. About half of it is pure goodness. The quartz, I could be less bothered by the quartz, but the gold and the fastenite, I'll take those. Broke up the rock, a little bit of overcharging, but not too much. And then we'll scan all the little ones. Because I knew that this whole rock was about 18 SCUs, even though it was a bit of gold there and a bit of quartz, I was happy to grab that, and likewise for this one. 63% of it is just quartz, but I'll take it for the gold. Like I say, I'm trying not to be too picky choosy. And I've noticed, by the way, all those ships around me were the advocacy, so I targeted them just to see who it was and what they were up to. But it's the advocacy, come to see what I'm up to. We heard reports of somebody mining around the Lagrange point. Let us scan your ship's cargo, even though your ship can't take cargo. So I've actually ended up pretty much taking all of those rocks from that one. It's kind of half filled the Prospector. Some goodies in there. So we go to times 12 speed as we move along. Continuing to scan, continuing to break rocks. This time we've got a bit of Terranite to go. Been scanned again by the advocacy, who wanted to check I was, I guess, the same person? I don't know. And a bit of Bexolite on this one. And then back to the refinery deck to go and refine the first hop. Actually felt like quite a smooth landing, that one, in ×12 speed. Quite pleased with myself. If you want to ever see how janky your flying is, just speed up the footage, because if it's in ×12 speed and you're flying all over the place, it becomes very obvious very quickly. So I mentioned that a patch is imminent at this point, so I'm selecting the Ferron exchange. I usually prefer the Dinix solvenation. It takes a bit longer, but in this case the time is a factor. I don't want to lose these nice refined pieces of ore, so I selected the Ferron exchange for that. And then head back to the Prospector, sat in the hangar waiting, and head out for our second hop. So my advice when doing this is to scale the number of refinery jobs you're doing to the size of your cargo ship. So in this case I brought the C1 Spirit, so I'm going to be scaling to 2 jobs because the C1 has 64 SCUs of cargo, which is kind of 2 Prospectors. Prospector carries 32. You lose some to inert and you lose some to inefficiencies through the refinery, but it's there or thereabouts 32. If you were taking out something with higher storage, you could obviously do more of these hops at the refinery to queue up the jobs. And you do get efficiencies for doing that, because about a quarter of the entire session was actually just taking the cargo back to sell it, and 3/4 of it was mining. Well, that quarter of it is always going to be the same amount of time, give or take, depending on no matter what cargo ship you pick, whereas the mining is the bit that takes the time. So all of that to say, if you bring a bigger cargo ship, you can go out and do more mining runs. Nice rock there, lots of Hephaestonite. Still mostly ignoring the rocks that are only quartz or high percentage of quartz. Oh, beautiful, perfect, 100% Hephaestonite. More than 5 SCUs in that one. It's a nice little break. There we go, we'll move on. I think I am a little bit more picky about what rocks that I take when I've got low cargo capacity. So when I'm just starting out, I'm probably a little bit more choosy, whereas when I'm almost full, I'm probably a bit more, well, that will fill up the ship and take me back to the refinery, so I might as well grab it rather than go and find something new. So maybe I am a little bit picky about my mining. That bug again where it says 100% inert until you scan it. Annoying. Laranite, I'll happily take some Laranite. This is a bit of a larger rock. Trying to be careful with it. 17 SCUs, of which almost half is Laranite, so I think it's probably fair to say there's 8 SCUs of Laranite in this rock, which would look very good on my cargo deck. A lot of quartz. Everything's quartz around here, it seems. If anybody needs quartz, just let me know. Plenty to go around. So I'm really looking for these rocks to have Laranite in. 40%, it's okay. I'll take the quartz that goes with it. That was mostly quartz and not very much laranite. That one's better at 88% laranite. So if you're looking for something that's a fairly chilled out way to be able to make a little bit of money, actually the Asteroid mining is pretty fun. You don't have as much to worry about as when you're kind of planet side. You know, you don't have to try so hard with your flying or anything like that, because really the only thing you can hit out here are other asteroids, and if you're scanning for them, it should be fairly obvious that that's where they are. It's not a long hop to go to get back to the refinery deck. I think this asteroid might be too large. 150 SCUs. I think that might be too large. I mean, we'll try it, but yeah, no chance. But a lovely opportunity for a nice panning shot of the Prospector doing what it does best, failing to break open a rock. That sounded really snarky and scathing. I actually really like the Prospector. It's a very nice little mining ship, so look for our next rock. But yes, if you're looking for something a little bit less intense than the full kind of combat experience, but maybe a little bit more exciting than pure salvage, which I also love, by the way, you can't go too far wrong with a little bit of space mining. So that's the Prospector full again, so we'll head back to the refinery deck, hop aboard, and go and get our next refinery job. So you can see the first job is already on there. One. I'll set up the second job. I'll once again do the ferron exchange just so that the job is ready sooner rather than later. Both of them just over 9 hours. Jobs are running. So then with the art of video magic, like maybe like a few moments later or whatever, you can tell I'm not really into that kind of editing. Jobs are done, so we collect them both to the C1 Spirit. And we'll head back to the ship. So the total for mining between getting the Prospector to the station and the 2 mining trips was just over 45 minutes, so 3/4 of an hour. And now it's a case of going to sell up. Always exciting to see those boxes in your cargo bay. I love it. And then hopping in the pilot's chair. So I think it's one of those things where, because I've played Star Citizen for a number of years, I do remember a time when quite often boxes just wouldn't show up at all if you were hauling them. So when you get in your ship, it would look like an empty cargo bay, even though it wasn't an empty cargo bay. So kind of noticing the progress of the game, seeing those boxes on the grid, knowing that if you needed to, you could move them around. Like, it feels more complete knowing where the game has come from. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So doors are opening. We'll leave the hangar. Wonderful C1 Spirit. May become a bit more of an endangered species with the release of the Zeus. We'll see. We'll see. But then spin around, back home to Microtech to sell up. So obviously you can do this at other Lagrange points. For me, I've chosen Mike L1 because it's nearby Microtech, and Microtech is where I live. If you live somewhere else, feel free, try it with one of the other Lagrange points near you. I mean, look at that beautiful microtech. Going for a nice sunny landing. Drifting a little. And then hopping down into the hangar. So I'm going to be doing the unloading myself for this, just because I get fed up of any bugs and things like that when you get to the trade terminal, that you don't realise that it's not going to accept the auto loading or unloading until after you get there. So what I tend to do is just spend a few minutes manually unloading the ship. Arguably you save a little bit on loading unloading costs, but for me it saves on the frustration of if there are any issues with unloading the ship automatically, I don't have to deal with that because I've unloaded it, it's done, they're in New Babbage and it's safe. I'm sure it's one that as things become more and more reliable, I'd probably be more open to actually just heading straight over and selling up directly and auto unloading, but I've got this handy ATLS in the hangar, so I'm going to do it myself. And then lovely Star Citizen bug where there's a big white thing. Thankfully, I could just walk through it. So unloading cargo with the ATLS pretty easy, even for a ship like the Spirit that hasn't got the largest of cargo bays. You just kind of position it so you can see one side, grab your boxes and store them away. Oh, there's still something in front of that one. There is a tractor beam on the back of the C1, so if you didn't have an ATLS you could use that. Honestly, the ATLS is faster just because it instantly grabs the box, instantly dumps the box, whereas the tractor beam on the back of the C1, you do have to move it around kind of manually and place things down. So the ATLS is just, it makes things easier. The fact that this thing is going up for sale very shortly in-game for Alpha UEC, like, I think anybody that does any kind of cargo management, whether it's mining, salvage, hauling, trading, I think this is an easy choice of something to buy. For Alpha UEC, that is, I should say. Plus, it's bright orange, what's not to like? So that's one half unloaded, very quick with the ATLS. We get the next half. So as you can see, you know, it is definitely another thing that you have to do. I think one of the criticisms of the new cargo system is it can be a little tedious. It definitely adds extra time doing this if this is something you want to do, but actually it's not, for something like this, you know, this is less than 64 SCUs of cargo, it's not massively onerous. If you were doing a huge, great big ship like, I don't know, the Hercules or something like that, yes, it does add a lot more time. But for me, in this kind of situation, it's not a huge amount of time spent doing this cargo management. And I'm only doing this because I feel like this is currently more reliable. Make sure that one's stored on the grid. It's quite satisfying as well to think, all of these crates, all of these boxes, I mined these. I mined these with the Prospector. They got refined. But I went out and mined these boxes. Pretty satisfying. There we go. So that's pretty much everything. I always like to store my ATLS like off the side of the hangar so it doesn't get sucked down into the below, right near the kind of cargo elevator, so it's very easy access. As you saw in this gameplay video, it was a case of quickly hop out, grab the ATLS. I always just check that there's nothing left over as well, Don't want the embarrassment of coming back to the ship and go, oh, I missed a box. But yeah, I always keep that ATLS handy, right by the cargo elevator. Speaking of the cargo elevator, just access it, send it down. That's all I have to do. I'll store the C1 and then I'll head across to the Commons to sell up. I figure you've probably seen a few different tram journeys by now, so I have times 12'd this hop to the Commons. If you really want to see some tram journeys, I guess let me know in the comments. I'm sure I can oblige. But I thought I'd save that one. So here we are, back at the commodity shop to sell up. So the refinery costs across the 2 refinery jobs were about 16,000 credits. And the total amount of time to bring all this cargo back here and sell up was about 15 minutes as well. So the total session was about an hour. A couple of minutes over, but about an hour. Selling up all of this beautiful cargo. Even 4 SEUs of gold there, nearly 30k. $13 SEUs of Fastanite, 35k. Terranite, 22k for just 3. And then the quartz, 19 F quartz for 7k. So that total was 152,000. So you take away the 16k refinery costs, and that's 136,000 profit for about an hour. Not record-making amount of money, but fairly enjoyable. If you enjoyed this video, you might press the like button to let me know I should make more similar videos, and if you're not yet subscribed, you'd probably like to do that so that YouTube shows you more like this. But otherwise, thank you for watching.